if you're looking for a super easy way to beat Grandmaster Fallen Saber in about 10 minutes per run so you can farm all of the brand new perks on the Wild Style Adept Grenade Launcher, then you came to the right place. First things first, let's start with what loadout you're going to want to bring. In this Grandmaster Strike, we have Overcharged Fusion Rifle, which we don't really care about all that much, a Solar and Arc Surge. We've, of course, got Overcharged Weapons, so that any weapon that currently has an active champion artifact mod enabled is going to get that 25% weapon DPS buff. And then we, of course, have Barrier and Overload champions. So with all of those things in mind, the first thing I'm going to draw all y'all's attention to is we, in fact, do not have Outbreak perfected equipped, but occupying our exotic slot is actually going to be the Thunderlord on all three characters. Not only does this have built-in Overload, so we can use this to absolutely nuke Overload champions, but it also pairs up nicely with the Arc Weapon Surge, or rather just the Arc Surge in general for this week's GM, giving it a 25% bonus damage buff. It absolutely vaporizes the boss. You want this on all three players on your fire team. And the other two slots, I actually like all three players running the same weapon loadout here. I like everyone with a sniper in the kinetic slot, thanks to the fact that we are now in Act 2 of the Echoes episode, which means we now have access to the anti-barrier sniper rifle down on the bottom row of our artifact mods. This is going to allow you to one-shot barrier shields on champions if you land a precision shot, and just generally speaking, decent damage for the rest of the strike. As for a primary ammo weapon for our general ad clearing and to have a way to stun Overload champions other than our Thunderlord, we're going with Overload hand cannon. Right here, we've got the Zhao Bane is what I'm using. You can use literally whatever hand cannon you want. Doesn't matter as long as you have the Overload hand cannon enabled. Now you'll see that I am actually not on Prismatic. I'm on my traditional Omnioculus Invisible Hunter loadout. These are my mods right here. If you want to take a screenshot, this entire strike is arc damage, so I love having the arc resistance. I've got a couple of solar mods to play into orb generation for my Zhao Bane. So if you're using a different element of hand cannon, you can go with a different siphon mod. Obviously, heavy ammo finder and scout. And then a Arc Scavenger mod, which you'll notice is 1 energy cost. This is so we can get significantly increased ammo drops for the Thunderlord. And the reason it only costs 1 energy is because I'm slotting in the authorized mod Scavenger over here on my artifact. In fact, this is my entire artifact. If you just want to go ahead and screenshot it, feel free. As far as my subclass setup, and I will have this linked in the description in a written guide, I'm just going with my traditional Omnioculus setup. I have Echo of Dilation so that I can have max mobility, tier 100 mobility alongside tier 10 resilience, or tier 10 mobility, tier 10 resilience. You could go Echo of Harvest instead if you don't really care as much about the tier 10 mobility, but everything else you're going to want to pretty much do a carbon copy of. Obscurity, Starvation, Persistence. You guys know the drill who have been watching the channel for a while, know all about Omnioculus Hunter. As far as everyone else on your fire team goes, I really only recommend having 1 Invis Hunter, and you'll see specifically why as we get into the strike. But any other hunters, I would actually urge you to rock and roll with Prismatic and Celestial Nighthawk. So we have the Golden Gun Marksman. Remember, we have a Solar Surge on this strike, so those will hit like a truck. And then being on Prismatic, you can also have all 3 of your basic abilities, your melee ability, your grenade, and your dodge, slow enemies, so you can use any 3 of your abilities to stun Overload champions. When you put that on top of your Overload hand cannon and the Overload from your Thunderlord, feels absolutely incredible. If you are rocking and rolling with a Warlock, I would suggest going something like Song of Flame along with Bleak Watcher is absolutely spectacular. And if you're on Titan, you can run pretty much whatever you want. It's not that big of a deal. This strike is, as long as you have at least 1 Invis Hunter, and again, like I said, I'll show you why I love bringing at least 1 Invis Hunter to the party as we get into the strike, and I show you guys all the nice tips to make everything super, super fast. Your build doesn't matter too much. What you're really looking for is stuff that you can burst down enemies with, specifically because for the final 50% of the boss fight, you really want to be able to one-shot him. The Thunderlords are going to do that perfectly fine, but if you're on a Titan, you want to bring something like Thunder Crash to align with the Arc Surge. That can be very nice too. Similar to previous guides, the actual subclass loadouts are not super important as long as you have the weapon loadouts that we're recommending. You're going to be pretty solid. So right when you load in, we're going to rip out the Sparrow. My favorite thing to do here is just kind of hug the beach side. So you see this, like, I kind of hug over to the left. You don't go too far left, otherwise you'll just explode. It's okay if you get to turn back for a brief moment, but I love just hugging this left side over here. It completely allows you to skip every single enemy. You're never in any danger whatsoever. You don't have to fight any of them. You're not at risk of getting shot by any of them. Gets you to this Warsat area super quickly. And for the Warsat, there's a couple different ways you can play it. I know about the emote cheese. I'm not going to demonstrate that in this video. I never really like showing off cheeses in guides like this because you never know when they're going to get patched. So if you know the cheese and you want to do the cheese for this section, that's totally fine. I'm going to show you guys a way to do it that's guaranteed not to get patched. So first things first, when you spawn, ship's going to fly in. First thing you want to do is nuke the turrets that are on the front of it. They will literally destroy and fall off, and then the turrets on the ship literally can't shoot at you. The neat thing about this area is enemies only spawn based on your progress of transmatting the Warsat. So like they're dead center in my screen where I'm at 17, 18, 19, and it's ticking. Enemies only spawn as that continues to go up. So if you're ever getting overwhelmed by ads, or you're ever, like, if you spawn a champion, for example, and you want to, you know, have time to deal with it before you spawn future waves, you can just have every single person on your fire team leave the Warsat zone. So as you can see here, no enemies are coming out. And then we can sit in the Warsat zone a little bit more until the next wave comes out. And then the second that we see the next wave come out, we can just get right back out of the Warsat zone. And it will not continue to spawn enemies. And it makes it super easy so that you're only dealing with one wave at a time. It's ultra safe. Because if you do it too quickly, you're going to end up in a situation where you spawn the next wave of ships too early. And then you have to deal, you have like a ship over here and enemies over here, and then you have ships over there and enemies over there at the same time. It just puts you in a dangerous position. So after you clear that wave of enemies, after you clear the champion and that ship goes away, you'll then have two ships that'll spawn on the opposite direction of you. These ships will spawn Vandal snipers, so you need to be very careful of them because they hurt a lot. I'm actually going to request that my teammates get out of the Warsat, so that's okay. So I can kind of show what the waves of enemies are, how quickly, you know, which enemies come in which waves. In this wave, you're going to end up getting a barrier servitor. So we're just going to kind of let the barrier servitor push into us. We're going to go ahead and deal with the barrier servitor. As you can see, no one's in the Warsat right now, which means no bonus enemies are spawning. So, like I said, it just gives you ample time and ample safety to deal with these champions and deal with all these enemies before you even think about dealing with the next wave of ads. Not necessarily for extra waves of ads coming from the same location, the same side, but the main point of that, the main reason you want to do that is so you can make sure you clean up one side before you start getting enemies behind you, because last thing you want is to fight a war on two fronts. Historically, that has not gone well for most. So, you know, we kind of, you know, apply the same strategies so that we don't lose the Grandmaster Nightfall, you know what I mean? So, gonna go back in here. Once those two ships disappear, spawn our final ship and shoot the turrets off, as we do. And we're just going to smoke all the enemies until we eventually get the Overload Champion, which spawns in the very first wave here. We're going to absolutely cook the Overload Champion. And then from this point forward, we don't have any more champions to deal with. So we can just spam invisibility if we want to. Whoever the Invis Hunter player is, they can just spam invis while the other two teammates just leave. Because when you get it to 100%, every single thing other than champions is going to despawn. So you don't really have to worry about anything. So now that it's 100%, all these guys are just gonna vanish. And even if you did still have a champion up and you were concerned about a champion despawning and costing you your platinum, don't worry. When you do that, only non-champion enemies despawn. So if you still have champions up at that point and you want to use invisibility to go ahead and capture it and despawn everything, any champions that are up will remain, so you can go ahead and clean them up in isolation after you despawn everything else if you'd like. For this room, my favorite place to go is immediately over here into the left side and playing this angle. This place is unfathomably safe. You're going to have a couple sword marauders that might push into you. But that's pretty much it. Only the melee enemies are going to push into you, and the only way enemies are going to have an angle on you is if you are peeking them. So it's super, super, super safe in here. You have 2 different angles of attack that you can use to shoot at stuff. It just makes things super, super, super safe. Should be getting supers at this time, so I'm going to go ahead and drop my tether in there. We're going to try to kill the barrier servitor first, if we can. Looks like we got an overload instead. When you kill one of the champions, you're going to get sniper shanks that are going to spawn out of these little pits right here, so make sure you kill them ASAP before you continue mopping up all the champions in the back of the room. And then once you finish mopping up every single thing in the arena, you're going to have all 3 players come to this back area over here. Open up the vent, shoot that bad boy, and then you're just going to spawn everything, kill a couple of these exploder shanks, and just kind of hold this area. A couple invis enemies, you're just going to play the cover, play the poles, and whatnot. Pretty simple. Nothing should push you too particularly hard. Main thing to look out here, once you get to this area, is there will be 2 orange bar sniper shanks in the back of the map. I would recommend prioritizing them to some degree, or at least being aware of them, because sniper enemies hurts quite a bit in Grandmasters. And then once you take them out and you start pushing up against all these enemies, you can take out all the overload captains, you can take out all the marauders and whatnot. Rather simple. So once you kill that guy, we're going to go ahead and head down here. And right here, this area, I'm going to ask my 2 teammates that I'm currently with to just completely go AFK. This is why I love bringing the Invis Hunter, is this section right here. So your Invis Hunter player is going to come in here and kill both of these sniper shanks. Slowly but surely. There we go. And then the Invis Hunter is going to run all the way down here and pick up this orb. And then since we have Trapper's Ambush on, we can use... what we're going to wait until this line right here comes. Then we're going to grab it and we're going to follow it in. And what I love about this is Trapper's Ambush. We're going to come right here in this middle area, hit a Trapper's Ambush, use our air move, and that's going to allow us to go invisible. And the reason I have my teammates going AFK is because the last thing I want one of them to do is to shoot this exploder shank and get me blown up while I'm in the middle of, like, running over here to deposit. That area alone is why I absolutely love running Invis Hunter, because it makes that area an absolute joke. So big recommend on the Invis Hunter right there. Once we get to this room, we're going to get super aggressive, and we're going to kill everything from closest to furthest, especially the exploder shanks, and we're going to try and push up big time. Main reason we want to push up big time is because I want to try and get my tether down on this choke point, spawn this barrier servitor, because what we can do is we can basically spawn camp all of the enemies that come out of here, spawn camp that barrier servitor. Eventually we're going to get 2 overload captains, spawn camp them, they walk right into the tether, get insta-stunned, tether plus Thunderlord, instantly dead. Couldn't be more simple. After we're done with that section, we're going to run over here. Things to look out for in this area is the barrier servitor plus some of the Vandal snipers. So number 1 priority is going to be the barrier servitor, because it's of course going to make all of the Vandal snipers immune. And then we're just going to keep an eye out for the Vandal snipers. Let's see if my sniper aim is what it used to be. I am 4 years older than I was when I first started YouTube, so might not be the player I used to be when it comes to sniper aim. Doing my best out here. But yeah. Oh, there's another one. Give him a little tap. And I'm okay with using a little bit of Thunderlord to kill these overload captains. I would say you probably want 150 heavy ammo rounds walking into the boss fight, to be completely honest, is what I would urge you toward, 150 to 200. So if you've got like 300 shots of Thunderlord chilling, then you can go ahead and just absolutely nuke those champions with Thunderlord. If you're a little lower on Thunderlord ammo, I would say just go ahead and sauce them up with the overload hand cannon. Hopefully you get lucky and get some good drops through your run, but you know. So we're gonna kill all those enemies, kill the servitors, kill the shanks, spawn the boss. When the boss spawns, I like chilling right here behind this little square, with everyone having the Thunderlords just ready to go. And you'll see exactly why. The second he pops out, just going to get absolutely lasered. The boss has been going underground a lot for me. In fact, in all of the runs I've been doing, he just goes underground. Don't know why. But he should just TP right back up. Everyone can sauce him with the Thunderlords. You want to be careful about his sniper augment. And then the second that you sauce him up, you're going to come over here to the left side. In my opinion, this is a super, super safe area of the arena because you can head glitch. You can use this thing as cover. You can head glitch it. Makes you super, super safe. So we're just going to play from right here. Going to go ahead and reload the Thunderlord. Make sure we're ready for the next go. And then the second we kill the barrier servitor, Thunderlord's back out. And once again, just absolutely rip through the boss. Triple Thunderlord, absolutely spectacular. Once you send the boss right there, one of your players wants to be staring at this window because 2 sniper shanks are going to eventually spawn out of it. Only one, though. You don't want all 3 of your teammates tunnel visioning on this. But there was the first one. There's the second one. Now I don't need to care about it anymore. Now that both of those are dead, my other teammates were focused on the other enemies. We're going to rip through this barrier servitor. And the second he dies, I'm plopping my tether right there, pulling out my Thunderlord. Both my teammates are popping their golden guns. We're unloading every single thing we have. And as I said, absolutely vaporized. Absolutely vaporized. Thunderlord, 100% the play here. I know I was saying Outbreak is probably going to be the move for every single Grandmaster Nightfall that has barrier champions. But with the Arc Surge, Thunderlord just feels absolutely mint for this one. So hopefully this guide helped. Our final runtime was, looks like 11 minutes, 53 seconds. So if you get into a rhythm with your teammates and you're not having to worry about slowing down things so you can explain things for a guide video, you'll probably be clocking 10-minute clears, sub 10-minute clears pretty easily. So as I said, hopefully you found this guide video helpful. If you did, consider hitting those like and subscribe buttons. And I will see you guys next week for the Grandmaster Liminality Guide video. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, forgot my outro. Have a great day.